can I do? All right, this is Sports for Real with Coach Hall down here in so-called sunny Jacksonville, where you can see that the skies are set to fall at any time. I hear the thunder starting to build, and it won't be long before the skies fall. Well, by the time they do, I'm going to find me a spot to get me a good nap in. Last night, I tried to come on and give my insight on what I thought was going to happen with the Clippers and Nuggets in Game 7. In particular, James Harden, what was he going to do? But I couldn't understand it. People couldn't hear me because where I was at a block party, which essentially turned out to be a community get-together / opportunity for vendors to get their wares out. Pretty good turnout, no problems, and we're probably going to see the same kind of thing that you're going to get next year and the year after, as long as these block parties continue. So another successful event. But I was trying to say that I was hoping that James Harden can come on out and break out of his slump. But like Chad is telling me, you got the same kind of weather there too. I wonder it's because the Clippers and the Lakers are both home. It's a obvious question. But when you look at the performance of Harden, he didn't score but 7 points, I believe it was. But he had like 13 assists. So it wasn't like he's, okay, I'm going to get to you in a second, old Chad. It wasn't like he was not performing the way he should have. It's just that he wasn't scoring enough points. But when you have blowout games, it's kind of hard to get into a rhythm to do the things you need to do to keep your team successful. Now, that was Game 7. And I've seen plenty of years where you have these Game 7s in the NBA that often turn into a blowout. I can never figure out how a series can be nip and tuck, and all of a sudden the last game turns out to be a blowout. I can't get it. Curry and Butler, I guess you're talking about Butler, is a killer. Well, I want to know what the Warriors are going to do. The last week, I've been critical of the Warriors because you go down to Houston in Game 5 with a 3-1 lead, and you decide that you want to sit your starters for most of the game. Why? You have a chance to kill this team right now. All the momentum was in your favor right then, but you decide to sit your players. They fall behind, the reserves fall behind by 30 points. Fine. You already conceded the victory, right? But then they started to storm back. And when they stormed back, they got within 11, and then you find out why these guys are reserves. 5, 6, 7 times in a row, point blank layups, miss, get the rebound, miss. And then they got frustrated when Houston got the rebound and threw the guy out of bounds. That led to a technical foul, and that allowed Houston to stretch the lead out. Had they scored that basket to cut it within 10, under 10, Curry was set to send in his starters back to try to win the game. Well, if you're going to try to steal the game at that point, why not go into Game 5 with the mindset that you want to just kill these guys anyway? They were under the impression, Chad, that you were going to win Game 6 and celebrate in front of the fans. Well, that backfired because Houston, they didn't participate in that plot. And now here we are in Game 7 with Houston holding all the cards, and they're going to have that raucous crowd in their favor. And what people try to tell me in these Game 7s, the reason why they turn out to be a blowout, because the other team, the home team comes out hot, the crowd gets behind it, and the other team just falls all apart. That's kind of hard for me to believe when these guys play in front of huge crowds all year long. Golden State's won in Houston this year. Why all of a sudden would be a problem for them to win in the playoffs? Same thing last night. We've seen the Clippers in the series going to Denver and win a game. So why is it that all of a sudden when it counts the most you can't play? I don't understand. Sherry Robertson, how you doing? But the thing is, I start to wonder sometimes if these games are fixed. I broached the question when I asked, did the league call Golden State and tell them to lose Game 5? You know, Then you go out and get beaten Game 6. Now here we are in Game 7. So the question is, will Golden State go the way of all the teams have gone to Game 7 and managed to get themselves blown out? I personally think that Golden State is a dangerous team. I know they're old and they got aches and pains and all of that, but I think that Curry, this is the kind of game that's going to get hot. And even though that Houston been doing all kind of things to try to slow him down and hold him down, it's not like he's never seen these kind of things before. But just like James Harden last night distributed 13 assists, so can Curry do the same thing. And if he starts to distribute and the players are actually finishing, I say that because I've seen games when Curry tried to get to be in an assisting mood, players miss the shot on the other end, or they'll pass it away to somebody else. So that takes him off the assist line. So it's not like he's trying to get the other players involved. It's just that they don't do necessarily what they should do with the ball. But if he's able to get other players going and get that assist count up and keep their team in the game in the third quarter, then I think Golden State's going to be fine. But Butler, he's looking to score now. I didn't see that earlier from Butler when he first came to Golden State, even though they say he made their team a whole lot better. But I didn't see how Butler can score 10 points a game and then expect Curry to score 30, 35, 40 a game for them to advance in the playoffs. That's not going to happen. And just like I was saying about Jamal Murray, Murray did the same thing he's been doing often over the last 2 or 3 months. He come out in the first half and score 2 or 3 points, and then he'll turn it on in the second half. But if you fall too far behind in the first half and your second scorer only got 2 or 3 points, how the hell are the Nuggets expecting to advance under a situation like that? It's not going to happen. Now, just so happen when you get into a blowout, things usually turn normalcy on its head. So when you look at the stat lines yesterday, it wasn't Murray and Jokic that was doing all the damage. It was the sideline players, the Gordons and the Porters and the Brons. Those guys stepped up. Now, what's going to happen today? Like I said, Curry's going to find a way to get his points off. You can't really stop him. It's not like football where you can pretty much beat the guy up and tackle him. All you can do is foul Curry, and he can play through contact. He's not as fragile as they think he is. And he's going to hit those threes. He's deadly from the free throw line. And I see Curry going for at least 25 today. And if Butler can add 20 plus, then I think they're going to knock the Rockets off. But Van Vliet is the man for Houston. I haven't seen any adjustments from Golden State to try to slow Van Vliet down. You go into the series thinking that Green from the Rockets is going to be the one to be the high scorer. But he hadn't done very much except for Game 2 when he scored that 38 points. And then when they put the scrubs in there for most of the game in Game 5, that's when Green scored most of his points. He scored like 17 the other day. But I think Van Vliet recognized early in the series that this guy Green, who's supposed to be our leading scorer, he can't do it. And that allowed Van Vliet to step up. But in turn, Golden State has not tried to do anything to counter that. Now, in these Game 7 matchups, they usually say all the adjustments have been made. But no, the Van Vliet adjustment by Golden State has not been made. So they got to find a way to get the ball out of his hands and keep Şengün off the boards. And they need to find a way to get Dylan Brooks involved. If you notice, in Game 6, Brooks, he pretty much sat out the entire second half. So I don't know if Houston is going to try to come with that same game plan this time. But I think if Golden State is to win this, they're going to have to get the ball out of Van Vliet's hands. How you doing, JC? I tried to come on yesterday, man. I couldn't get on in the morning, but I came in. I had a block party I had to go to last night, and I was trying to broadcast from there, but the music was drowning me out, and I didn't want to. I could have just played the block party and just showed footage from that, but, you know, I didn't want to invade nobody's privacy because, you know, some people get a little touchy about that. Who knows what they were doing when you have so many people out there. Everything was on the up and up, but, you know, I didn't want to go that route. So I tried to talk over it, and it was just too loud. But I gave my interpretation about James Harden. I thought he would step up from the assist end. He did step up, but the way the game went, I don't know if you can really fault him or not because the game he didn't do what he was supposed to do. But I think it would be easier for a player to get his stats once you get yourself down by 30 points because the other team is going to start resting their players. And that's kind of what they did. Jokic, he didn't kill him like he normally does. He had a lot of rebounds and he had a lot of assists, but not a whole lot of points. Same thing with Jamal Murray. And Kawhi, I think he ended up with like 25, 24, 25, somewhere in there. So he was productive. But Harden, he's going to always have that Game 7 cloud over his head until he steps up and comes through and actually wins one. But he hadn't won one yet. All right, I'm feeling the Warriors tonight. Curry comes through in Game 7. Yeah, he usually does. That's why I said I think the league called Golden State, said, look here, throw Game 5 and make it look like the Rockets have a chance in Game 6. So if they win it, we'll make for a pretty interesting Game 7. Because if they hadn't won that game, then you would only have one game on TV tonight, and that's the first round, the semifinal Game 1 with the Pacers and the Cavaliers. You know, the more money, they make more money and win more games on TV. So now that you have Rockets, that's a compelling story against Golden State, along with the Cavaliers tonight. And the NBA is pretty much set up now, all the way through to at least the conference finals, where you don't have any days where you're missing any action. You probably won't miss any action until you have the normal break in the NBA finals. All right, Matthew Boker, Luka top 5 in the NBA. Yeah, he's the top 5. He might be one of the top 5 scorers, but he needs to work on his defense. You see the way those young dudes are running by him, almost like he wasn't even there. If you got a one-on-one game, and if you're able to score 35 points on the guy, and the guy scored 36 on you, who gives a damn if you can score 35 a game? You can't defend, man. And he's not in shape enough to defend these guys. You need to work on his lateral quickness. You should not be getting blown by as easily as they do in some of the games that I've seen him get whipped on. So yeah, Luka's a great player, but he needs to work on his defense. And a lot of the stuff they say about him not being in shape, that is true. So he's going to have to accept that and get into the gym and get himself in shape. Because I understand what most people don't, why Redick left LeBron, Luka, and Reeves out there for the entire second half. They had to sell out to try to win. And I gave you guys an example before. I used to coach girls basketball team. I didn't have any bench. I didn't have any depth at all. I needed my starting 5 to carry me and not get myself in trouble. And if they didn't come through and we got in trouble, I had nowhere else to go. Yeah, I could have substituted here and there, but it don't take long in sports for the opposing team to find a weakness, especially if it's glaring. And because it was glaring, I couldn't do a whole lot of substitution. I had to roll with what I had, and that's just the way it is. But the problem I had, I don't know about guys are like this. Once the girls realize that I'm depending more on this group of players, they tend to pick on the other group of players, saying that they're not really a part of the team. So when you're dealing with high school girls, it causes a whole lot of back issues that you shouldn't have to deal with. And so having said that, I can understand completely where J.J. Redick was coming from when trying to get that game by having those guys play. Now, LeBron's defense, by him being 40 years old, he should have got a chance to have a break. But you can't say that LeBron needs a crutch because he's 40 on one end, but yet he's still performing at a high level better than a lot of 20-year-olds, and give him credit for that. You know, it's like talking out of both sides of your mouth. He's on the court, he's susceptible to whatever happens to him. All right, Luka can't guard a stationary chair. Well, I kind of believe what you're saying there, Grasshopper. He is stiff, and he just needs to work on it, man. He's got to do better than what he did that I saw in the playoffs this year. But as far as scoring goes, he's going to be fine. Now, the real question is, what will the Lakers do next year? I've heard it said 1,000 times that they think that LeBron, he's playing second fiddle now, and it's not his team anymore, it's Doncic's team, and they're going to have to get rid of LeBron, or he's going to keep on doing what he's doing by making these inflammatory statements about the roster and the trades and all of that. So I don't think LeBron's coming back. I don't know if he's going to retire, but I know there's some teams out there that would like to have him and not having to depend on him as much. But it'll be interesting to see what he does. But I don't got nothing else to do other than play basketball. That's all he knows. And eventually, Father Time's going to catch up to him. And I hope you don't blow out a knee or something, and that'll be the last you hear from him. So I just hope that don't happen to him. So I like to just see him walk on off in a graceful manner and give it up. MS Doom, I don't know what you're talking about. Reddick was saying half the team wasn't in playoff shape, but it was his job to get the Lakers in playoff shape. Theoretically it is, but when you're talking about professional athletes, they're responsible for getting themselves in shape for the most part. You have to be in shape to participate in training camp, and you don't want to be in a position where you find yourself not in shape when you go to camp. That's not a good look, and you're not going to be long like that. Now, Luka feel like he's in shape for what he can do, but he's never going to be quick enough to beat half those quick guards and forwards out there. They're going to beat him most of the time. But I think that it's Reddick's fault to a certain extent, but the fact that he's coming out pointing fingers and they're pointing fingers at him, that's a bad situation. And I'm not so sure that Reddick's going to be back as a coach next year because the last 2-3 games kind of exposed him a little bit, and he's not handling it very well. So if he did, in fact, say that half the team wasn't in playoff shape, that bounces back on him, like you're saying, JC. Grasshopper Plus said it was Bronny's fault. Yeah, it's his fault, all right. He ought to be glad to be collecting the NBA check, because he should be in college somewhere trying to work on his game instead of trying to be out there with these guys. Now, if he doesn't lose his confidence and he keeps at it, he's going to get the opportunity to turn into a good player. But how long that's going to be, I don't know. And I'm also hearing that his little brother is better than he is. So he might stick around the league long enough to play with his little brother. That way you can have a family connection there. Father waited on the oldest son, and the oldest son waited on the youngest son. And now they're all cemented as the family legacy in the NBA. All right. Weather's starting to get bad around here, man. If Shaq would have stayed in shape and worked on his shot and jumper, he would have been the greatest ever. Well, let Shaq tell it. He is the greatest ever. And Shaq was a great player. But what I'm not liking about Shaq, he's overly critical of people. He talks down on a lot of the players today, and that's not a good thing. You know, he wasn't the best in shape either, and let him tell it. He probably was in good shape, and it's just not a good look for him to be talking down on some of the players like he does. So JC said it looks like Denver finding that coach was a good move. They are winning since he left. Well, they were winning with the guy. I think that when you lose these close games, you don't necessarily blame it on the coach. The players still have to go out there and make the shot. But one thing I have noticed, Joker is not scoring as many points as he was scoring before. If he's scoring 30 plus, that means he's not distributing the ball as much. Now he's moving the ball around a lot better, and he's not scoring a whole lot of points. I don't think he scored 20 last night, and they pretty much beat the Clippers up and down the court. They were up by 30-something at one point, and they ended up winning by 19, but it was nowhere near as close. So, again, if a big fella like that can move the ball around and you come to double team him, he's going to find somebody. But to defense that, if you're OKC, I might just want to let him go one-on-one and keep the other players from getting involved. Because you see Jamal Murray, he's up and down. They can't depend on him to be a high scorer. He's scoring 1-2 points in the first half and then come back in the second half. He might give me 10. I need more than that to keep the game competitive consistently. Murray's not being consistent. Same thing with Jalen Green with the Rockets. A couple of other players. You saw what the Pistons did in a bumbly boo down the stretch against the Knicks, fumbling the ball out of bounds and sitting there watching the rebound go all the way out to a shooter, and he come back and lays it up. And then when you had a chance to get a shot up to win the game, you fumble it out of bounds. Being that looked more like high school stuff to me. So some of these guys in the NBA remind me of what Bill Russell said. The only reason they're in the league because you got so many teams. He didn't come out and say that, but that's what he was alluding to. You got so many teams, and there's roster spots for more people, but that doesn't mean everybody on the roster is deserving to be at the high level. Yes, even the worst players on the NBA teams are good, but that doesn't mean they're top-notch, true NBA talent. And what I saw the other day from the Pistons, it makes you question, what the hell are they doing, man? I don't know. Frisco Knicks, how you doing, man? I'm doing all right. What team can beat the Celtics? I think OKC can beat the Celtics, but they're going to have to play. And everybody's talking about Cleveland. They whipped Cleveland last year in 5 games. So if they do get to the Eastern Finals against each other, I'm going to go with Boston, and I give Cleveland a game. Instead of getting beaten in 5, I think they'll take it in 6. And it's going to come down to OKC, in my opinion, and Boston. Now, OKC is not out of the woods yet. Golden State is clearly a team that can beat them. Rockets, no. Rockets don't get by Minnesota. They're the type of team that like to talk a lot of trash. And I saw them play Minnesota a couple months back. And they were doing all that chirping then. And that's the kind of thing that got Edwards going. And it was back and forth. Green was on that night, but they couldn't stop Edwards. He scored 40-something that night. And because he gets motivated by all that talking that they do. I think that Rockets, they could have won that one game, but it was Dylan Brooks who started chirping at Jimmy Butler, and that got him going. Sometimes it's just best to just play the game and let it unfold. If the guy starts to choke, you don't want to wake him up by starting to talk trash to him, because some guys actually get off on that. You know, they actually depend on that for you to talk trash. And that's what happened that night when Minnesota played Houston, and I saw Golden State come back and wake up from the dead that game. That was game 4, I believe it was, because Brooks got to talking all that trash. Is you a blood or a Crip? All right, let me check this poll board here. All right, I asked a question: are these game 7s predetermined or not? We got about a 50-50 split here. Most of you right now are saying that no, they aren't not. I tend to agree, but I think that NBA players as a whole, they aren't hardwired to play on the road. They seem to believe the hype about the home court advantage. Me personally, as a coach and as a player, I would like nothing better to do than to come in your venue and knock you off. And I don't think the other NBA players, they feel the same way. They just show up and they don't really expect to win. They hope to win. Hopefully the home team won't show up. Hopefully they won't get a critical call. I hope, instead of just come on in there and taking it to them. Because what you will find if you go into a venue and you playing some good ball and the home team's not doing a whole lot because of what you're doing to them, the crowd gets quiet. And they start to sit on their hand because they're getting antsy because they're not cheering. And what ends up happening is the crowd turns on the home team. Almost all the time. Pay attention to that. When you see a good road team go on the road against a team that's expected to win or think they're going to win because they're the home team, that crowd will turn on them. So that's why it's important for road teams to come out and play well, if not jump dead on them to get a lead, but be right there with that team. Eventually that crowd's going to settle down, and it's going to come down to who's the best team, not who's got the home court advantage or home field advantage or whatever. The players determine who wins. And if you got a mindset where you depend on being at home, then you can't be a champion. Look at some of the games in Game 7 history where it didn't work out for the road team, and it's because of that. JC says, hopefully Draymond doesn't get a flagrant and gets kicked out of the game. Well, he do some stupid stuff, but I think he gets the benefit of the doubt a lot of times, because the other night he's rolling all over the guy. He was trying to kick the guy and then trying to play it off, and then he got upset because they charged him with a offensive foul. Then he goes screaming in the official's face. That kind of stuff's not supposed to happen, man. He's supposed to get thrown out of the game. But due to the circumstances of the game, they weren't going to do it. But unless he does something really dumb, I don't see them throwing anybody out unless they just have to throw him out. And I don't think he's a little bit smart. He's smarter than get himself in a situation where he's just kind of have to be thrown out the game. But they depend on him recently to hit three-pointers to take pressure off Curry. Anybody that can hit a three-pointer to take the pressure off him, that's what they need. And he's been hitting 2 or 3 a game. And if he's able to do that tonight, if he can hit 3 three-pointers, and then Buddy Hield and Moody and Brzezinski, if they can combine for another 4 to 5, Curry's going to get his 4 or 5, and I think they're going to beat the Rockets. And just the way it's been going lately, and I think that's what's going to happen tonight. But I'm waiting to see it. But only 2 games today. The Thunder, OKC, not the Thunder, but OKC and Denver get off tomorrow. And the other NBA Eastern Conference, Boston and New York, is going to play. So it's going to be a pretty good sports weekend, concluding tonight and going on through the week as we head towards a new NBA champion. Boston's going to have to play. OKC to me is still the best, but the question is, how will they play? Will they still play at a high? Will they still play at a high level as they move through the Western bracket? And I think after folding last year, they're going to be a little bit different this time around. So it'll be interesting to see. All right, ENT Nation, Evander Holyfield. What about Evander Holyfield? No, I don't like Evander Holyfield. Again, let me check this poll vote. Still right about 50-50. Most of you saying that no, these games aren't predetermined. But sometimes you have to wonder. Been watching these games for a long time, man, and there's some head-scratching things that take place in these sports worlds, man. Especially now that gambling is taking a bigger part of things. They used to talk down about gambling. It's a bad thing. It's taboo. If you have anything to do with gambling, then you're going to be in trouble. But yet, you go out in the arena now, everybody's promoting gambling. Everybody's gamble. So it plays a big part in today's sport. But just to recap, I just want to talk about the Clippers and how they just fell apart last night. They got ran off the court. And even though the final score was 19, it was much worse than that. And it's just another example of how all these series go 7 games, where most of the series is nip and tuck, and all of a sudden there's a blowout in the last game. Well, if that team that won the game was so much better, then why did they not exhibit that early on in the series? That's the one thing that I could never figure out. Maybe they just ran out of options. Maybe they don't have the emotions anymore. Maybe I don't know what the reason is why they can't do it, but this has occurred quite often since I've been watching NBA. And I've been watching NBA playoffs. I know I go far back as 1980. That was when Magic was a rookie, and they beat Philadelphia in 6 games. That's when I think Kareem got injured and he couldn't play in Game 6, and they put Magic at center, and they took Caldwell Jones to school, scored like 42 points that night. But I've been watching it, keeping up with pro basketball playoffs for that long, and you wonder sometime about how these series tend to go. But James Harden, great player. They're talking about he's going to be a Hall of Fame player, but is he really a Hall of Fame player if he can't get a team over the hump at the most critical time? Or if he is a Hall of Fame player, are we strictly determined about a stat that somebody puts up? To me, a Hall of Fame player is a champion, somebody that wills their team to championship level while also playing at championship level himself. Now, I think the NBA, NFL, all these games, they're all dependent on regular season versus playoffs. Regular season for the fans, you don't have the same kind of constriction that you're going to face in the playoffs because teams are changing their game plans up, they're shortening their rosters, they're doing all kinds of things in the NBA. NFL, same kind of thing, but I think it's tougher to do to get your stats on a weekly basis more so in the NFL than the NBA. And baseball, that's probably the most consistent because it doesn't make a difference, I don't think, in baseball as much as it does in the other sports. Now, one thing about baseball that is similar, you're going to still face, instead of bouncing around, you're going to face the same team, and the pitching staff is going to be circular. You might, in a 7-game series, see the whole range of starters there, and that's where familiarity comes into play. But at some point during the season, you would have faced all these guys, and they're not going to throw anything at you that you hadn't seen. Only thing that you're going to see, he's got a history of not hitting the curveball. In a tough situation, he's coming curveball. You know that. The pitcher knows that. Everybody else knows that. And that also gives that hitter who can't hit that curveball a chance because he knows it's coming. If you ain't hit it before, here it comes. And that makes the difference in baseball, in my opinion. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to today's games. There should be a pretty good action tonight with Golden State and Houston in Game 7. Before that, maybe an hour or so before that, you have Cleveland taking on Indiana. That should be a pretty good series. At least the Cavaliers don't have to worry about Halliburton's dad coming out of the stands. But it won't even matter because if Cleveland's got a 7-point lead with 40 seconds left, they're not going to lose it like Milwaukee did. So keep that in mind. Even though it's a good matchup, I think that Cleveland will whip Indiana, and I don't see it going past 5 games. But we'll see how things go tonight. Well, the chess match begins, but these teams know each other. They've already made some adjustments. It's all about who's going to show up tonight. And don't be surprised if Cleveland runs off Indiana. And it's like that. So until the morning, unless something breaks out that I have to come on and talk about it, I'll catch you guys in the morning sometime between 6:30 and 7. And I hope you guys have a great day wherever you are in the world. And I appreciate you chiming in with the old coach. So until then, I'm out. Hit that like, subscribe button, man. Let me check the poll one more time. And most of you are still saying no, Game 7 winners are not predetermined. All right, have a great day. We got that Grand Prix Miami race on this afternoon. That should be a pretty decent race. A couple baseball games. Good time for sports. All right, have a great day. I'm out.